Tipperary have beaten Kilkenny by 119 to 118 here at Semple Stadium, and it was probably one of the least entertaining Kilkenny against Tipperary clashes that has been seen in recent memories. Both teams obviously trying to put together a new game plan and bring through some new players after the classic rivalry that we had from so long. It started in 2009 and I suppose went up as far as 2019 if you want to include that All-Ireland final. Tipperary tried to work the ball through the hands and through the middle of the field. Barry Heffernan and Dylan Quirk being massive parts of that. They got on the ball so many times. Cathal Barrett, I should say, was man of the match here. There's no question about that. He won the winning free at the end. The amount of ball he won against the head and got out in front of his man, he was absolutely exceptional. And once again, is the bane of Kilkenny here. Kilkenny are also trying to bring through some new players here. Half back line of Mikey Carey, Niall Brazel and David Blanchfield. We haven't seen that before. There's a couple of injuries in the back line for them also, which would be a little bit frustrating for Brian Cody as he tries to get a look at some of his newer players here. But there's such a change in the starting teams that we're seeing here. So if you go back to the last inter-county meeting between these two teams, it was the All-Ireland final of 2019, and just 12 of those starters remain out of the 30, 5 for Kilkenny and 7 for Tipperary. Obviously, Kilkenny's will be bolstered a little bit once the Ballyhale Shamrocks guys come back, but as things stand right now, that's kind of the way it is for them. Brian Cody definitely be frustrated that Evan Cody had to go off a little bit early in the game, 3 minutes in, so he was substituted off with an injury. But one thing that Brian Cody will be happy enough about is that his team went a nice bit behind. They went 6 points behind on a couple of occasions, and they paired it back. And all of his half-back line scored a point. Kerry Brazel and David Blanchfield, Keane Kenny and Paddy Deegan at midfield also got onto the scoreboard. I'm not entirely sure if I see Paddy Deegan staying in midfield for his entire season here. He got blocked down, he had shot short. An awful lot of people were hitting wides in the first half. In fact, it was such a low quality game in the first half, especially the groans here from the crowd were just very audible throughout that period. There were 45 shots hit in the first 35 minutes. And my count, maybe some people would look at this slightly differently, but I thought that 11 of the shots that went awry were mishits. You could either hear the hurley and the poor striker. They swung and you thought this lad's trying to knock it out over the stand and it'd be mishit short. So that's what I thought. 11 of the shots were mishit. 6 of those mishit by Kilkenny, 5 from Tipperary. There wasn't Tipperary obviously tried to work the ball around the field and then find that lovely pass inside, or obviously keep carrying it until you can just knock it over the bar. But it was rare enough that they were able to feed that lovely ball in front of a forward coming out. Mark Keogh didn't get himself into the game. Dennis Maher did some good things, didn't really get himself into the game massively either, but if you look at what Desi Hutchinson was able to do for Ballygunner over the weekend against Ballyhale, Tipperary weren't getting that sort of ball in front. So a lot of the time they were bringing the ball out to the half back line and the options just weren't there. So they'll have to probably continue to evolve this and figure out how they're going to get the ball in front of the quality forwards inside. Seamus Callan came on towards the end. Doesn't look to be 100% himself just yet, but it's early doors for him. He had a goal chance, and I think it was Mikey Carey that snuffed it out. But just even the game itself, Tipperary led by 111 to 8 points at half time. That started pretty well, went 5-3 ahead, then pushed on a nice bit, got themselves 10-4 ahead. But to be fair to Kilkenny, they ended up getting the next 4 scores in a row through Tom Phelan, a couple of John Donnelly frees, and Pádraig Walsh, who was really good in that first half. A couple of high catches he had in the game were exceptional, and he was the main dynamic force for Kilkenny. He scored 4 points, so moving him back from centre back into the half forward line, that probably is going to be a permanent fixture because he's definitely made an impact so far. And I wonder with Niall Brazel, will he stay at centre back? Because he's been there with James Stevens, so maybe they'll feel happy about what he can do in that position. But obviously they have a couple more players to come back too. Just before half time, Barry Heffernan, who's crucial to this running game, he got himself on the score sheet. And then Jake Morris, so a short poker from Owen Murphy was cut out by Dennis Maher. He turned and ran, fed Jake Morris, and he burst through 2 defenders and drifted one-handed to the net. We've seen him do that before. It was a very good finish. And just after the break, Tom Phelan soloed through. He got hooked, so that was a bit of a goal chance on. As ever, Kilkenny winning that half-time throw-in, or the throw-ins to start the half, as they have with Tip over the years. And then, to be fair to Kilkenny, from 111 to 8 behind, they scored 7 of the next 8 points to draw level. Tip went back ahead. A couple of poor... Kilkenny didn't score for, it was 11 or 12 minutes. Tip had pushed themselves on ahead by 5 points. And Tygo Dwyer got a nice score. Billy Ryan had caused a nice bit of trouble for who was it, Craig Morgan, and he cut in from the corner flag more or less and fed Tygo Dwyer for a nice finish for Tygo Dwyer. So I think Billy Ryan is one of these players that could have a big season. But just down the stretch, Ford got another nice score after Seamus Kennedy had fed him. I think Ronan Maher was basically the player that lifted the crowd because everyone was quite frustrated here at Semple Stadium. There's sort of a feeling of enough of this SH1T, and ultimately Ronan Maher came on, got himself a score, just did a couple of things that got the crowd going. Wally Walsh got a few scores, and then towards the very end, Jason Ford hit over the winning free after Cathal Barrett and won the free, and a great performance from Cathal Barrett for sure. But two teams that seem quite a world away from what Limerick are able to produce at the height of summer. But this is also the middle of February, and Tipperary are trying to introduce a new game plan. Maybe be a couple of more players come into the team. Kilkenny, I would say, there was some fears within Kilkenny with supporters I spoke that they could lose this game heavily because they didn't have the Ballyhale lads. But to get so close despite not having them, I think is somewhat encouraging for Kilkenny. So let me know what you think, and we'll see you on the Monday show at 1 o'clock.